Welcome everyone to another edition of Deconversion Stories, and today I have the absolute pleasure of chatting with my new and already very good friend Jena Miyu, who is a co-host. I'm tripping over my own tongue here. Let me have a little word with my tongue for a second.
You're more nervous than I am. I like it.
Oh, it's not nervous. You see, when you sing in front of lots and lots of people, like I have multiple times, and that nervousness just kind of goes to the wayside.
That's true. That's true.
But so I'm used to being in front of large crowds and stuff like that. But anyways, Jenna, what I do here is I chat with people about their journeys away from whatever religious or otherwise belief system they were once a part of. And I generally like to have people go back to sort of when they can, earliest moments they can remember about being involved in that, and how the dominoes started falling that led you out into becoming I'm going to say this point blank here, the amazing atheist activist that you are today.
Aw. Wow. Yeah. It's, a lot has happened literally, it's been maybe a little bit over a year, that all this, me doing streams, me being part of the atheist community of Discord, community server, it's been a whirlwind. I just never expected how many people I have met so far and what I did not think I would be doing as of right now a year ago. So this is, everything in my life has changed so fast.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. It can steamroll on you sometimes, right? I mean, it was a little bit more of a slow grind for me because, and I'm sure you probably stumbled across a lot of the atheist experience, Seth Andrews, R and Ra, who, by the way, and you can barely see it, but there's a signature from R, and you can't even see it on there.
No, not at all.
It's like faded.
Okay. It's okay. It's there.
It's there. I know it's there. He wrote on my boob, people. Or wait, I should say moob, I guess.
Jeez.
I made him laugh when he did it too. It's like, Aaron is signing my breast.
Harassment.
Yeah. Oh, no, I asked him to. So it was
okay.
consensual.
Well, then, consent all the way.
Exactly. Moves for the win. Thanks, Mikey.
Wow. Good one.
All right. So and I got to tell you, I've done a couple of episodes with you now for nonprofits, and it's a lot of fun, isn't it?
It is a lot of fun, because it is a lot of fun. Like,
well, there's a lot involved. Like, we look at article after article and decide which ones we're going to talk about, right?
And that's fine, and it's helped me be more up to date because pre-Trump, I was all into politics. I was all about that life. I think for maybe, I lied when I said I never had a Twitter. I did for like 6 months. And it was just full on following political news, like for, I don't know how long, just for 6 months, just all politics. And then once, Trump got elected, then I was just like, I'm kind of tired, and all of that just went away. I deleted all of that. And I was just like, I can't pay attention to this. This is not real. So
it's like we're in a parallel universe and everything's just going south.
I know. Yeah.
Right. So why don't you take us on that journey of coming out of it?
Wow. First off, I grew up in a Baptist Christian family. I am the youngest of all my siblings. I have one older sister. She's 3 years older. I have 3 other half siblings from my father's first marriage. Small family, but all religious.
That's odd for Baptists, don't you think?
Is it?
I thought Baptists like to have bigger families.
Oh, well, yes. Well, that's true. But I guess, my family just is uniquely small then. But yeah, small family. I always grew up in the church. I was anointed as a 3-year-old. I was first baptized when I was maybe 5. Okay. I was baptized again when we changed to a different church when I was 10 or 11.
Because you got to be in the right one, right? So baptized properly.
Yeah. I don't understand the whole connection. It's like, okay, you move to a different home church and then you get baptized again. Okay, but I thought I was already saved, but Oh, okay, I gotta get resaved. Okay, fine.
Apparently.
But after all that anointing and all that baptizing, I still turn out an atheist, a heathen. So
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
it didn't work.
No.
But yeah, for me, I guess you could say I never outwardly questioned my belief or non-belief. I mean, I was always curious, but very silently curious. I was a very quiet child growing up. So I always kind of, for the most part, kept to myself. And then, just growing into, not growing, I guess you could say just growing into what your family has raised you on. You're raised up on whatever the political party your family is raised on, whatever religion, whatever kind of traditions, culture, what have you. So I mean, it was easy, or it was just that same way. I started really young when my thing in the church was singing. So I sang in the church choir from when I was like 5 or 6. And then pretty much all the way straight through until I was 18. And then some various years sporadically from there.
Would you say that was probably your favorite part about it? Is singing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I like singing. And that was, kind of like your escape from like sitting, listening to some guy say words and stuff.
Going on about stuff.
Yeah. Because church, Black churches, if you don't know, if anyone doesn't know, they're long as hell. And then, especially if you have to like not go to 8 o'clock service, but you go to 11 o'clock service, and then there's Sunday school in between that. And then maybe my mom's in a feel good mood to like socialize more. So then you got to go to 3:30 service. And it's like, oh God,
I'm never getting out of here.
So, that was routine. Like growing up, there were often times where I would go to church, not multiple times during the week, but it was mostly more than 2 times a Sunday, going to, and then including, Sunday school. So most of my friends growing up were, believers, Christians and whatnot. And that's what I was, accustomed to. I mean, sure, I had school friends, but, you, in your mind, you think, oh, well, they're believers too. But I never really kind of talked about that. You just automatically assume everyone's just like you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
sure.
so, why even question or even be that curious about anything being any different? But it didn't really, I would say my earliest kind of odd feeling about, Christianity and what my pastor was saying didn't hit me until I was maybe 12 or 13. And then I was finally like, not always falling asleep during service.
Right.
I was kind of, trying to pay attention because, my mom, she would yell at me if I didn't. So I always get in trouble if I kept falling asleep. I couldn't help it. It's so boring. But anyway.
I hear you. I
Yeah.
did synagogue too when I was a kid. So.
Yeah.
Might get one of those elbows from my dad. Wake up, you little punk.
Yes. And not only my mom, but my sister too. And I'm like, God, okay, well,
all right, I'm awake. Fuck.
Stop talking after like an hour. But
you just need little toothpicks. You could prop your eyes open so it looks like you're awake.
So I loved it when I was always, singing, and I always made myself as active as possible just to get away from always sitting somewhere, listening, to the pastor and stuff. But anyway, but yeah, it wasn't until I was 13 that I started to pay attention. And it was, I don't recall exactly what he said, but it was in reference to homosexuality. And it always had to lead into that. I myself am heterosexual, but I knew, I had an idea of what that was. Sure. It was plainly just like, oh, okay, a girl loves a girl and a guy loves a guy. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me, I guess. Sure. But
love is love.
Right.
Really know any gender or sex or anything, really.
Right. And, at some age, around that age, at least here in the States, you get that, sex education or whatever. And I never had the sex talk from my parents. The sex, I'm derailing a lot, but the sex talk from my parents. Sorry.
It's okay. It's expected. And it's actually, a lot of people like it when we derail off the topic for a little, just because a lot of stuff can tie into the story. So
yes, it does a little bit. Right. But no, the sex talk from my parents was just don't come home with baggage. Oh, okay. That,
That was it?
actual look.
What do
Yeah,
you
that was
mean?
it.
Like
That
a
was it.
duffel bag, or what are you
Yeah.
talking about?
No, in your head, you're like, a suitcase, like moving bag.
A backpack? Why?
But obviously they meant, don't come home with a baby or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but how do you make a baby? Get into that, mom and dad. But no, they never did.
It's a stork.
Yeah. So, growing up, you just, you learn from school, you learn from friends, and you learn from porn. So there you go.
Porn. Although I
But
wouldn't exactly. Well, I'm going to say most porn is fairly misogynistic. So I don't, I wouldn't tell people to go learn from porn. I mean,
right.
once they get into the action, you can see some moves and positions and stuff, but
Mhm.
a lot of it is pretty misogynistic.
Yes, it is. But anyway, so yes, the preacher was talking about homosexuality, and of course, it was very hateful.
Mhm.
And around that time, I was kind of transitioning into, I was 13, so I was about to enter high school. I had a friend, very, very, huh?
I had a friend once.
I had a friend once, one time. So, yeah, I had a friend. Prior to this, I didn't know of, I didn't personally know of homosexual people. I just, whatever I heard from like maybe TV or in church, then I kind of created my own idea and understanding. I'm like, oh, okay, so it's when a girl likes a girl and a guy likes a guy. Okay. Okay. So I didn't really think much of it. And then of course you take that and you're taught that this is, sinful against God and it's wrong and blah, yada, yada, yada. And so, I absorbed that, not, thinking like, okay, that's normal because this, where I am is normal, being amongst these people, being with my family, they agree. So I guess, okay, I agree. Like, yeah, that's wrong. So it's terrible. But from that, some months ago, after hearing that, this friend of mine, which I unfortunately have no contact with anymore because that was many, many years ago. But this friend of mine told me in, trust, and I didn't tell anyone else, that she was a lesbian.
Okay.
And that she did express that she, liked me and thought I was attractive, but she also knew that I wasn't like that. And, in my head, I was just like, I don't understand what like that meant. I was growing up, I was very sheltered. So it took a long time for me to really understand certain things, like a really long time, shamefully. So when she told me that, I was totally cool. Like, it wasn't like I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's cool. Like, so you like girls, right? Like, just to confirm in my head, like what that meant, thinking like,
Sure.
oh yeah, that means like she likes girls. Okay, that's cool. Like, I personally, I didn't think anything of it. But I recalled, because of that teaching that I absorbed, that, oh, but she'll go to hell. I should probably warn her. And so, unfortunately, my idiotic self said like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. Like I like you too, but I don't know if I like you, but you know, you should probably be careful." And she was like, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, don't you know God says you'll go to hell if you keep liking girls?" And she just went stone-faced.
Wow.
And the moment that came out of my lips, I instantly regret it. Instantly.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell did I just say? Because I knew it was right, because what I was told, but it just felt so, so wrong. And I just, she started shaking. She visibly got upset with me, obviously. And, she yelled, and yeah, we weren't friends anymore. And,
Too bad.
that was my unfortunate, very, what do you call it? Young mind for not understanding or not being sympathetic. And, unfortunately, I lost a good friend from that, because I said something that I instantly regretted and didn't really feel like I felt the same. And then it didn't hit me for a little bit to think, like, after a while and after losing her as a friend, unfortunately, it's like, wait, because I kept thinking about her, because we were, best friends, and we hung out all the time, and it wasn't like she was a bad person. She was like the sweetest person I ever knew. That's why we were friends.
Right.
And it occurred to me, it was like, but why would she go to hell if she just likes girls? Like, that's the only thing. Like, she has to suffer and fire just because she likes what she likes.
Mhm.
And for the longest time, that bothered me, and I never really questioned it.
Rightfully so, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course, rightfully so. Never really questioned it, unless like, to myself, but never outwardly said anything. It wasn't but, like, not too long after, my mother and my sister, they're really into Lifetime movies even till this day. I hate Lifetime movies. It's the same
I'm
shit.
with you there. It's like
like
same storyline, just
it's just
reformulated over and over.
yes, it is. I'm like, well, I mean, she's gonna die. That guy is a murderer. Like, he's obviously stalker status. Like, I already told you the movie.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
much. I hate Lifetime movies. But this particular
Spoiler
movie,
alert.
huh?
Spoiler alert.
Right. But this particular movie, um, I don't remember the name. I just remember this one scene that kind of, you know, changed shit for me. Um,
That's new. Sorry. Mikey just made a spoiler alert banner. That's a good idea, actually.
oh, nice. Sorry. All Lifetime movies, the women die.
There you
Doesn't
go.
matter.
Now
They
you
all
don't need to ever watch another one. Not that I've
Sorry.
watched that many.
Thank you,
But
Mikey.
anyway.
But this particular one, the women didn't die. But this it was about a story of a mom and her son. And I guess the son, at a very young age, started really, like, getting to his mom's, like, makeup, and, like, getting in the mirror and putting on her dresses or tops or whatever. And I happened to just walk in the room, and my mom and my sister are sitting in my sister's room kind of watching it. And then and then I guess I was just standing there for, like, a few minutes just to kind of figure out what they were looking at. And I was like, "Oh, he looks pretty." Because I instantly knew that was a boy. And then without kind of, like, any kind of dialogue going on, I just stood there and was like, "Oh, he looks pretty." And then my mom just, like, sharply turns and looks at me, like, with this, like, I don't know.
Condemning sort of look.
Yes. And then she's like, "What are you saying?" And something else she said, and then she said, "Well, I hope you're not a." I don't want to say this word. Um, you better not be a D word.
You
The
mean
yeah,
I know which word you mean.
yeah. So, and I never heard my mother say that to me before. And for a while, she kind of felt like I was, and I'm like, whatever gave her the impression that she thought I was gay.
Mhm.
I mean, in my mind, I didn't really think anything wrong of it, but how I felt, like, no, but I'm not. But I mean, if people are, then what's wrong with that? That's their only sin. So it made no sense. And that just, for years and years, that kind of carried inside me. And I just, it made me even more and more not want to try and ask questions. I just became more withdrawn and just continued to accept as I grew older.
Mhm.
And the true catalyst, well, there's two. Sorry, dry mouth.
It's
the
okay.
the true catalyst was once I graduated high school and entered college. And whole new world, different people. I was like 300 plus miles away from home, still in California, but away from home. um and I remember having this one class. It was a literature review class. It had nothing to do with astronomy, but we were talking about space and stars, and it landed on a talk about black holes. And I was really into astronomy. Like, I love space. I love
Oh,
watching
me
those
too.
science channels and
Me too.
how the universe works. And oh my God, I've been watching this series with my best friend Justin, called Cosmos, and I'm like, "Ugh, we haven't
So
finished it
good.
yet, but I want to finish it." But anyway,
First
um,
season?
the first season, even though I've already kind of watched the first season when it originally came out, we were rewatching it, and we're on the last episode, and we're not finishing it, but whatever. Um,
Great series.
it is.
Neil
It's so
deGrasse Tyson's one of my favorite science communicators.
my hero. Love him. Love that man.
He's got the same name as me. How bad can you be with that, right?
Right? You're so lucky. Gosh,
I don't know about
that
lucky, but
famous
yeah,
name. Anyway,
I'm not quite as famous as he is, but
no, but I remember being in this class. It was a small session literature group, and we were just talking about, science, and it landed on a conversation about black holes. Someone like posed a question about, you know, how do you identify a black hole? Where in our existence would it come up? Is it random? Blah, 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 blah. And I was really getting into it. I was like, oh, yeah, I like this topic. I'm smart. I could probably say something. I was feeling myself in that moment. But it was at that time. Now, I'll say this. I'll take a little step back. I as a believer, or when I was never that young earth creationist. I always kind of trusted science. But in my mind, I was like, well, God's behind all that too. So I believe all my textbooks, but God created all that. So that was my kind of gelling of the two. So yeah, I believed everything was millions of years old, and I didn't trust all that other crazy flat earth stuff. Um so when, the conversation was getting good, and people were like, yeah, I wonder how they spring up and come into existence and all that. And then I bravely sat up a little bit and said, well, I'm sure God has his ways of creating certain things into fruition, and yada, 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 and whatever else I said to sound kind of smart. And then everyone turned at me and gave me this look like, what the fuck is she saying?
yeah, wait, what?
Like, what? And then like my teacher, even he like kind of scruffed. I was like, okay. And then
Am I
I kind of like,
wrong here?
reclined back.
Yeah.
I just instantly felt stupid. And, and then someone, I don't know who, because I didn't dare try to look at anyone, because once I'm embarrassed, I'm just like, all right, well, I'll shut up and let me try and leave soon, please. Someone in the back of the class was just like, well, that's dumb because God doesn't even exist. And then I was like,
What do you mean?
really? That never occurred to me, because I've never was taught that. Granted, I was told about non-believers, but I always equated non-believers as being non-Christians. Because if you're just a non-Christian, then you're everything else. Like,
Yeah,
you
like
have
a
your
Jew
Christians
or a
who are
Hindu
true
or
believers,
yeah,
and then you have everybody else who are non-believers, or they believe in something else.
in the wrong
That was
religion.
my box of idea. That's what I was taught, in a sense.
Yep.
So, I left that class, stunned, embarrassed, obviously, but I was just like, God doesn't exist. But I don't know. It just kind of repeated in my mind, and I stayed up late thinking about it. And it didn't take me long after that to kind of do my own research, I guess. I was like, okay, what is God? Simple stuff. You know, uh, how was space created? I knew of the Big Bang, but I decided to kind of refresh myself on the Big Bang and stuff.
Mhm.
And,
Worst name ever
yeah.
because there's
And
no
then,
sound in space, so there was no
right,
sound.
right. And then I ran across the word atheist, and I was like, I think I've heard that before, but they never really say that in church because it kind of sounds like a really, really ugly
Why
word to say.
tempt? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just say non-believer.
Mm.
And then so I was like, okay, atheist. And I don't know. I don't know how much longer after that, but almost quickly did I identify myself as not fully atheist, but I was leaning more agnostic. I had started
Okay.
learning new words and stuff. Like, yay, me. um,
Learning's good.
keep in mind, this is me at 18. Okay. I know people that have come to this idea way before this, but I mean, I was extremely sheltered as a kid. So I was very limited in things that I was taught and knew and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Besides, going to school and stuff. But yeah, it wasn't too much longer after that, and I gotten to know friends that were, also identified themselves as kind of agnostic or kind of like, you never really know what's out there or whatever. And I guess, but not really truly saying atheist. I never really ran into one saying that.
Right.
Especially didn't run into anyone, like me saying that. So
Mhm.
the classic notion was in church, the classic notion was, oh, that's the white man's problem.
Really?
Or yeah.
Wow.
Uh, and I was like, that's,
I guess
white
they
man.
haven't heard of black non-believers then.
No. And neither did I.
Okay.
I didn't think that was a thing. Apart from me always having talks about, Black culture and how it's always combined with the whole Christian belief, like that's just automatically sealed with our culture. And it's like, anyways, it's so gelled. It's frustrating. I can always talk about that, but um yeah, it's I found a group of people that were like liberal Democrats. I didn't really find a group that were like non-believer kind of groups on my campus, but a lot of the people within this liberal political democratic group, because I was really getting into politics at that time, they were kind of the people that were like, I guess, agnostic at best. They didn't really truly, were flat out saying, "Oh, I'm atheist" and stuff. So that kind of motivation, that kind of inspiration of learning about different people and other things, and then you go to discovering like what do you call those documentaries and stuff online and things like that. I Yeah, it
What was the first channel you sort of stumbled across with the atheist type content?
I think for most people it was, the atheist experience. It
Mm.
really was. It wasn't even a full episode. It was Matt Dillahunty clips of him yelling at believers on call,
Yeah, yeah.
like the really, really old school ones.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember one night actually, when I first actually started to watch them, it was some years after I got out of college. Um, I stayed up for like 3, 4 hours just watching clip after YouTube clip of this guy just ranting about unbelievers, and I discovered Russell Glasser, and I discovered all these other people, and it was just like funny, but I agreed with them, and then I was just like, damn, these callers sound so stupid. Like you can't even, yeah. And it was around that point where I was like fully kind of coming out. But prior to that, my second catalyst, as far as, truly feeling like truly starting my journey of really struggling with
Mm.
belief and non-belief, like teetering, was when it was the third year of my undergrad. It was like my third week in starting school, and I get a call from my mom saying, I need you to come home. And I'm like, well, why? What's wrong? She's like, your dad's in the hospital. He really wants to see
Oh, boy.
you. I'm going to buy you a train ticket. So you should, just get on the train tomorrow. And I was like, okay. So I got on the train. I mean, I didn't really think of much of anything. The next day, and I find it's like train ride and bus ride. It's like a 6 long-hour trip from Northern California back to where I live. And then, it's late and I get in the car and I'm thinking like, oh, are we going to visit dad? Like he's in the hospital. I know it's late, but hey, why not? Right.
Mhm.
Um, but we go home and I'm like, well, I thought we were going to see dad. Are we just going to wait until the morning? Like, can I at least call him? And then, she sat me down and just said, your dad passed yesterday.
Oh.
Um, and I didn't want to tell you when I called you. I wanted to get you home first. And
Mm.
yeah, so my dad had passed away instantly. I guess that day,
From what, though?
um, they deemed it as a blood clot that traveled up to his jugular and just pretty much killed him instantly. He had a month prior to that, he had pancreatic surgery.
Mm.
Or no, I'm sorry, pancreatic. Jesus, I'm a freaking nurse. His spleen. Sorry, I meant to say spleen.
Okay.
His spleen was removed because he had this abnormal type of blood clotting condition. So
Oh, and they missed one.
yeah. So
I'm sorry, Jenna.
yeah, I think I was 20 at the time. Yeah. He had just come back from lunch, back to his office, sat at his desk. Not but within 5 minutes, like a coworker saw him slumped at his desk and fall to the floor, and they called paramedic, and they pretty much knew he was gone before they even got to the hospital. So when my mom had called me that evening, saying that he was in the hospital, he was actually dead. So yeah, I mean, looking at it now, like I would have just been so distraught. Like I was, but if she had told me, obviously she did the right thing and not telling me on the phone, but waiting until I was home. Aw. Waiting until I was home to tell me that news. So, but obviously that's understandable. But it was the transition from like him dying, and wasn't but a week after that we buried him. And you have the usual family and churchgoers pay their condolences and prayer, respect, and stuff like that. And me and my dad's relationship, we weren't personal with each other, but we had a bond. Like he always told me that I was his favorite. And he would make my sister and my
Daddy's
mom
little
laugh.
girl, right?
Yeah, I was daddy's little girl. My sister is my mom's. So
I'm a mama's boy, and my sister was daddy's little girl.
Aww.
So,
yeah.
And I lost my dad too in 2011, so bladder cancer.
I see. Yeah, it was 2010. My father died. Yeah. So I grew up loving all the same stuff my dad loved. Whatever my dad liked, I liked. He liked Pepsi, I liked Pepsi. He liked to watch football, I loved watching football. Whatever team he loved, I loved. He loved watching old school cartoons, Looney Tunes and Bugs Bunny.
Oh hell yeah, my dad too. Yeah.
And he would purposely drag me out of bed just to watch it with him, like early in the morning.
Yeah.
So that was our bond, really. And to lose that instantly was very traumatic, and it was really frustrating the day of his funeral, when I don't know I don't really recall where I was with my belief at that point. I was kind of like on the fence. It didn't really matter. If I went to church, I had to go to church. If not, then I don't.
At that point, it doesn't matter when
it didn't matter.
Somebody, that's put that shit aside and just
But I remember, I don't know who came up to me. It was right after the service, and after I got finished bawling my eyes out. We were about to go to the gravesite to put him in the ground, and I don't know who came up to me and started hugging me and stuff, and said, it's pissing me off when people say this. She said, God needed your dad for a reason. He's in a better place now. And I just got mad. I didn't yell at this person. I didn't like push them away. I just stood there like kind of shaking. Like I didn't cry. I was just like, in my head, I was just like, what the fuck does that mean? I need my dad. Like, what the fuck does God need my dad for? And it was just like, you don't even understand how, even though me and my sister were, legally adults, we still needed our father. I still needed my father. So, and for God to just take my dad out of my life so instantly, that just pissed me even more off. So after that, a lot of my life from then on and many years after just kind of went crazy for me. For months after, I would wake up either for a while every night, and then move to every other night, waking up screaming in nightmares because my father would kill me in my sleep.
Wow.
I don't understand why. That's just the dreams that I had. And apart from my mother and my sister having like, godly, beautiful dreams. Like my mom's dreams, for instance, was, oh, I had a dream about your dad last night. He was sitting outside the pearly gates on a gold bench. He was like, I'm over here, honey. And I'm like, that's beautiful. That's fine. But I didn't
It
have
helps you
that.
feel better then, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But it didn't help me. I, for a while, my mom thought I was going crazy. So she kind of coached me into seeing a therapist when I wasn't ready for it. I only went one time and I never wanted to go again. Cause I wasn't crazy, or at least I felt like I wasn't. And it felt kind of shocking for her to think that way. And then, you go to church and you're told to pray about it, and you're told to, God will give you the strength to carry on, and blah 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 blah, blah. And I'm like, that's bullshit, because even still this day it's still kind of heavy on me and it hurts. And it gets better, but at that point in my life it was a fucking mess. And so for
There's
years,
always gonna be that little piece of you that's now gone, right? So,
yes, yes, very much so. And then, I try to hold on for a long time. In the back of my head, I held on to the idea that, okay, I'll still see my dad in heaven. But as, several years went by, after rediscovering a lot of things about what an atheist is, rediscovering like YouTube stuff that I see with the atheist experience and other people I got influenced by, um, I gradually started questioning more, and I gradually started learning more. And ultimately, I came out of it. Not fully all the time. I fluctuate here and there, because
mhm.
you never, when you're dealing with something all on your own, it's so easy to just go back to the old, because there's so much more people on this side. And then you're like, well, I'm on this side by
Community.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I still did not see or understand what a Black atheist was. I didn't know if that even existed. I seriously thought that something was wrong, and I seriously thought that, well, maybe I'm just holding on to this grief of my dad, or me losing my dad, to compensate for me lacking being more strong in faith in God and not praying harder and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever grew angry. I never had an angry phase. It was just more of it was I just got more depressed
Mm.
and more despondent from my family. And, I stopped, you know, um, keeping up with friends. I had a Facebook before I made a new one earlier this year. I had a Facebook in college and I deleted it. And for several years, I didn't have social media, anything. I just completely removed myself from a lot of social things. Um, Dealing with this, to me, this toxic mind I had, because I didn't understand if this was right for me to, believe or not. And
Mhm.
it didn't take until, and then for a long time, for maybe a year or two, I was just like, you know what? I believe in God. Fine, I give in, because I can't find anybody like me, and it just seems ridiculous for me to try and do this on my own. And it wasn't until uh, the summer of last year that I had jury duty, and I was excited because I always wanted to be on jury duty. It was my first time, and it was a really good one. Well, I won't say good one, but it was a good one
Good
because
experience is
it was
what
a
you mean.
good experience, because I was off work for 2 weeks and they pay you while you're on jury duty. And it was a murder case, and it was kind of exciting, but obviously, yeah. And then my mom always told me, like, yeah, well, you always have to sit there for a long time, so you better bring a book. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I better bring a book. I didn't have anything. And it's so funny because I always keep this like laptop bag in the back of my car. And I recalled, like, I had a friend a few years ago that gave me this book, and it just happened to be God Is Not Great by Christopher Hitchens.
Mhm. You got a
Never
copy of it
opened
right
it.
down there.
Yeah, never opened it. I, it was like slips of paper sticking out of it from when my friend had it, where he had took notes and stuff. I never, I knew who he was, but I never made myself to read it because I was kind of trying to push all that away. But I had honestly forgotten that I had left it in there. I guess I didn't want to throw it away, and then I was trying to hide it for myself and whoever would find it. So I was like, well, I guess that's something to read. So I took that into, jury duty whenever there was downtime. And all those 2 weeks, I read the whole thing. And it was just like, I don't believe in this shit. I really don't. Like, I'm lying to myself thinking that I believe in God, and I really don't. Like, this book is really like, it really changed, that time, that 2 weeks that I read it, it really changed and solidified how I've been feeling for so many years. Even though I had a lot of like historical stuff, and it made me kind of research more and things like that. And then about a month later, still going to church and stuff. And I remember coming home one Sunday from church, and I just had this bad taste in my mouth. I was just not feeling good. I was just, my depression was getting worse. I had gone to see a therapist, but I didn't care for them, and they weren't really doing anything for me. And I guess I really disliked them because they were super spiritual, and it just made me feel uncomfortable. And I never told my
Or were
family.
they were the therapists that you were going to, were they more religiously based type?
I
Not secular, in other words?
They weren't. I know for sure they weren't secular. I know that. I don't know as far as what religion she was, but she was all about, spirits and candles and feeling the energy when you breathe in a candle. And I'm like,
What?
okay.
You're gonna burn your lip if you do that. You don't realize that? That's called
As
heat.
a
That's the
succession,
energy.
I was like, this is bullshit.
I'd lose my mustache if I did that.
I couldn't do it anymore. And after that failed thing, I was just like, well, what the hell did I do? I never told or talked to my family about my depression, or told anyone really. I really didn't have any friends. I just worked and went to school all the time. That's all I did, because that kept me busy and it kept me safe due to, other personal things that I was dealing with. I just kept myself, removed from everything. And coming home from church, it just really got to me. The music that always kind of gets to you and stuff. And
You know what? Even though I'm an atheist, I still gospel music is like,
it's some powerful shit, man.
yeah. I used to go
Singers are
to the
wow.
Yale, and I was already sort of a non-believer at the time. I used to go to the place called the Yale, which is a blues club here in Vancouver, and they used to bring in the Sunday, like the church, the gospel singers.
Mm-hmm.
They used to go up there, and the voices, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they are. They are. Yeah. I don't know what song it was. It made me cry. But I wasn't really crying because I was, feeling God or whatever feeling that you feel in that moment through a song. I was crying because I was just feeling more and more, who am I? Like, I was just losing myself. Like, I was just at my lowest at that point, because I know for certain I didn't believe in this bullshit, but at the same time I had no one else to turn to, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing or thinking or what to do. So I came home, I think it was around like 11. And for me at this time, that's when HV, I know who you are. I know who you are, HV. Stop it. Sorry, I saw that.
It's okay. It's okay.
I came
Hopefully
home.
you've been noticing a lot of love you're getting in the chat too.
Oh gosh, I see it, and I can't pay attention fully, but thank you, everyone. I saw a few things. But I came home, and around that time, coming home, is when Talk Heathen comes on. And I didn't really know that at that time. I don't know what the heck. I was just on my phone. I guess I just wanted to look up some things. in my mind, I started thinking about the atheist experience. Maybe they have like some type of, I don't know. Maybe in my mind, I was like, I wonder if they still do that show, or maybe I should call in. They do it on Sundays. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I just started to look it up, and then I never heard of Talk Heathen at that point.
Mhm.
And then to my surprise, it was a live show, because I see people actively chatting, and I didn't know it was a live show. I thought it was just like pre-recorded stuff, and I was just like, wow. And then for the first few minutes, and they were ending the show, and then some you know what, now that I think about this, it was either Justin or Stidix that plugged the link to the Discord, if I remember correctly. They put the link in the Discord in the live chat, and I did have a Discord because I had online friends that I played like Overwatch or some
Sure.
like stuff. So I was like, okay, I know what a Discord is. So I clicked on it, and all of a sudden I'm just open to this magical world of atheists, and people in the server just chatting and saying hi to me, and I was like, oh my god, there's a
There's a
community.
whole world of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is just last year. This was last year in August. And it surprised me, because after all this time, Mikey.
Yeah. A whole new
Oh, no.
world.
Dang it. Thank you, Mikey. No, after all this time, I was excited and frustrated at the same time, because I was like, man, it took me this many years to find this shit, to
Mhm.
find people like this. And actual people that say like, yeah, I'm an atheist. Fuck it. Who cares? Like, no, I don't believe in God or whatever, or I don't
Or
know,
any of them.
or any of them, or, and then it was amazing to me. And, from then on, things just took off. And I just was like, you know what? I'm an atheist. That was the first time I actually accepted it and said it to myself. And for most of my friends, or for all of my friends that know me, I am a closet atheist. So none of my family knows. Um, no coworkers or friends outside of online community
Mhm.
knows that I'm an atheist. And
What if
so,
they stumble across some of the shows you're on, like this one or the nonprofits? What's
and
gonna happen?
I thought about that. I've thought about that a lot. There's a whole other story for that too. um, I made up in my mind that, for I feel that I don't have the strength yet to have that conversation, or how I could start that conversation. I've gotten a lot of encouragement from all sorts of people, and I trust them, and I love how they have encouraged me, and oh, you should probably just say it this way, or show them this, and kind of get an understanding of how they feel, and kind of lean into it, or all sorts of ways to approach it. But it's important to get, yeah.
Yeah.
I thank you.
When the time is right
Yeah.
and when it's
Yes.
safe to do so.
Yes. And um yeah, and I just thought like, well, if my family ever discovered my face on one of these shows, then that's an opener.
That's an icebreaker.
There you go. So that's, if they haven't, I think for me it'd probably be easier if they did, instead of just me saying it, but you never know.
They might come up with their phones, be like, "What's this all about?"
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
infiltrating, Mom.
It's an undercover job that the pastor gave me. It's not,
Yeah.
I'm actually a believer. No, it's kidding. No, if they did, that's fine with me. It's only so long that you can hide yourself. And I realize keeping myself this way has done a lot of damage to myself as well.
Mm,
I do suffer from depression untreated still.
mm,
Um, and I see how much it has affected my relationship with my family.
mhm,
I see how much it has affected me with personal relationships. and also trying to actually find a relationship. So
Mhm.
that's kept me single. Um,
Aw.
I
See, and
I
I'm single by choice. So there's a story behind that one, but not enough time for me to go
Aw,
off about that.
yeah.
But that's okay.
So I see the damage it has caused my adult life now, but I mean, I'm at least grateful that I've found friends, good friends, that I can do this stuff with, like with
Mhm.
you, with my best friend Justin, with our show. Um,
Justin's
you know,
good.
yeah. And it was his idea, freaking Justin. It was his idea for me to, put my face out there or whatnot. And I was just like, I'm a closet atheist. Like, why the fuck would I do that? Like, no, like, hello, I'm in so much trouble. And then he's like, you have a story. You have a story to tell, and you don't know what other people are just like you that you can reach out to. And that touched me because I don't know. I don't know who could be watching this now that's just like
Right.
me. That can be like,
I do
I've
this.
gone through the same thing or I'm in the same thing. And then I can reach out to them and I'm like, you know what? I'm still going through the same thing. Let's talk. That's my whole point of what I do. I mean, I could care less if I have X amount of viewers or if I make money off of it, which I don't. I'm like, I don't ever
Thanks,
consider.
P.
Oh.
P. P's one of my awesome moderators. Of course, the
Oh,
one of my very first, and I still call him the moderator extraordinary, Inquisitive Quandary, has stumbled into the chat finally. Almost
I like
10
you.
minutes to the end mark.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I've met a lot of great people and a lot of people have inspired me to do this kind of stuff. And I feel like I'm getting better. And if not, then that's okay. And you'll just hear me talk. But
Well,
I
I've never the few shows that I've done with you. Honestly, you know what you're talking about, Jenna. So don't fear that. I mean, I'm the one that usually sits more quiet than everyone else in the background and just comes in with a stupid ass Canadian joke every once in a while.
it lightens up the room.
It
Yeah,
does. It
that's
does.
to it. It's good.
I'm what they call the what was that from uh, Galaxy Quest? The plucky comedic or plucky, plucky
Oh,
funny guy or
yeah.
whatever the fuck. Yeah,
Yes.
that'd be me.
Um, yeah, and I've had, other friends on the server that have motivated me to try and do stuff like this too.
Thanks, thanks, Gorilla.
Yes. So, as ever however long it takes me to really venture out. Yeah, that's on me. I've had my situations where, I've almost allowed someone to
That's it. Plucky comic relief. That's it.
yeah. I almost allowed someone to push me to just come out and be free and so much better on the side. And I'm like, I realize that,
Sure.
but only I really know my family, like how I
You
know
could
my
do it
family.
whenever you're comfortable with it.
Yes, and
But we'll
the
be here for you. We'll be here with that giant, well, all our arms so we'll catch you
yeah,
if you somehow have to fall. We'll be here to catch you. You know that.
yeah. So it's been it's been a journey, and I enjoy being a moderator on the Discord. I enjoy doing the nonprofits. I enjoy doing my show with Justin and talking to people on the server too. It, it that's my therapy, to be quite honest. Doing this after like a bullshit day from work
Mhm.
or just like not in the best of moods or something that's keeping me down and I can just connect with someone and share or just talk. um that has motivated me to just continue what I do, whether I get found out or not.
Mhm.
uh so yeah.
Okay, Mikey. Just so you guys know, Mikey is my producer, and he's in the background. Moments ago, he's just been sitting there playing his guitar the whole time. So,
Oh gosh. And it's so great that I got to, I've got to chat to so many people. Mandisa is so amazing. I love her. Cynthia, who you
Mandisa
had
is great. I got
last
to get
week.
Mandisa on here too, actually. If you could put in a good word for me, Jenna.
Maybe.
I don't know I don't know how well you know her, but everything I've seen her involved with and what she's done
Mhm.
live and stuff like that,
Yeah.
she's an amazing woman. Amazing.
Yes. Oh yes, so amazing.
Tough
And
as fucking nails too.
gosh, that's me. Like strong women, on
Yep.
their shit, and they're just boss, and they go all they make me cry. Like they're just I admire women like that.
Yeah, me
And
too.
to gravitate to that, to be a part of a community where we have examples like that is so inspiring. You
Mhm.
know, Michelle
Agreed.
Obama makes you cry. Kamala Harris makes
Yeah.
you cry.
Yeah.
I think feel like I viewed like a talk or something Mandisa did somewhere on her channel or somewhere I saw on YouTube. I can't recall what it is right now, but it made me cry just watching them. Like, oh my God, these women are so great. Like I really want, if not anything else, to aspire to be just as strong and just eventually get there. I
Mhm.
do. So hopefully.
You will. You will.
Yeah.
I'm sure over time, you'll be a known name in this whole thing too. I'm sure, because from what I've seen so far, it might be a bit of a slow climb, like it's been for me. but
Aw.
uh, but
Yeah.
I'm very what's the word? I'm very in your face, I guess. So when I went to the Faithless Forum and met everyone that I very much admired for doing what they do, like Eric and Jamie, because I called in to talk even too, just because that there was some guy on there, Seamus, I think his name was. He used to call in all the time. Goes, atheists, they don't have morals, and I go, really, motherfucker? I was going to give up a kidney to save a friend of mine's life, and you think that that's somewhat altruistic? You think that that's
Mhm.
immoral? Is that a
Mhm.
bad thing to do?
Mhm.
And I told them about the whole story and whatnot. And then
Yeah.
I met them, and Jamie and I were drunk in the hotel, running around, clinking beers, and we went off to get more. And Eric, and I met Matt and Aaron and everybody. I was there for like a week and a half, and it was amazing. And I got to meet a
Wow.
lot of great people, and we all became quite fast friends. So
That's awesome. And I
yeah,
think that's my point too. Growing up, I knew what, a non-believer is just those bad people that just don't trust in God or just don't have enough faith or whatnot. But, as an atheist now, I don't attribute myself as a bad person. I as a moderator, but as just my genuine self on the server on the atheist community Discord, you know, uh, you have to approach people. I feel that there's a certain way to approach a person, and you know, being in this community, I feel that whether I had this role or not, I feel that I have to represent myself and demonstrate the best example of what positive atheism is.
me too.
And you know, I advocate for that, and I advocate for having conversation, and I I dislike the notion of being an anti-theist, and I say that only because I understand the hurtfulness behind what religion has done and continues to do. But, you know, I think if my family was without that, it would damage them even more. And I think for me, throughout the hurt that we went through in the last 10 years with losing my father, and it was
Mhm.
just me, my mother, and my sister at one point, we experienced the pain three different ways. It forced it, jettisoned me out of my belief. It took my sister on a different journey, and it took my mom on a different journey. And we both have grown from that hurt differently.
Mhm.
But I feel like I've come out the strongest. And I say that because I'm not leaning on some faith.
You're not leaning on a fantasy,
I'm
is
not
what you're
leaning on a fantasy. I'm leaning on what I can do at my own best capability as a human being now, and to treat others as I would want to be treated.
Mhm.
And I encourage that for everyone else, and you just never know. Um, and I would hate to. Another reason why I find myself kind of hesitant of telling my family is because I don't want to be that additional pain that they have, because knowing my mother, I feel that she would take it upon herself, feeling like she did something wrong. And I
Mhm.
just, if she ever watches this, Mom, you never did anything wrong. This is just me. Um,
This is your journey,
this
and
is
it
my
really
journey,
doesn't have
and
anything to
this
do
is
with
my
her.
true self. And I remember having this conversation some months ago with Justin, and thank you, Theo. Um,
Mm.
I had said it was I had said, um, I still kind of struggle with, a lie that I tell my family and a lie that I tell myself, thinking that keeping in this closet is okay. And for the time being, it's keeping me safe. But how much longer,
For
right?
the time being, it is okay, and it will
Right.
be okay until you decide it's not okay.
Right. And then, I see the difference in the person that I am when at one time when pre-COVID, when I had to go to church, and I still do. Uh well, not now, but before the pandemic, I still went to church. Um,
Mhm.
the type of person that I present myself in the presence of, believers and my family versus the type of person I present myself in front of my friends and doing shows and stuff. And it's so different.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, you know, this is me. This is the real me right here. I've
Yeah.
lived this fake life from the time I was born up until the time I finally told myself I'm an atheist. That's been that fake me.
Mhm.
This part afterwards, up until I can finally get myself out in the open, is the real me. And I recognize that. And I feel so relieved that even though I still struggle with this long, complicated idea of Black identity and equating that with, the Christian faith and culture, that's still kind of like a thing for me.
Mhm.
But I recognize like I am being my true self, and I am, even though I have, my ups and downs, I'm happiest in my skin now. And that's relieving. And I'm so grateful
It's
that I
important.
have friends that I can identify with and know that about me. And yeah, it's been great.
Well, I for one am glad you found us. I'm glad you stumbled upon the community, and I'm extremely pleased that I got to meet you and become friends with you, because in
Too.
my opinion, because also what you do for work is really important as well. You're in the health field, and
Yes, I am a nurse.
yes, and by the way, thank you for doing what you do, especially during times like this. So I take my bandana off to you. Well, I'm not going to do it right now, but and yes, people, I do have hair under here. It's not a skeleton. Just FYI. And every once in a while, especially on the Tart show, they're like, "Yeah, we don't believe you." So I got to take the thing off and let the mane flow. And of course, it's I
Oh
look like
gosh.
Gandalf when that takes place. But yeah, and I think you're one of the best of us, Jenna. So just so you know, and many others think that of you as well. Just so you know.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, and let me tell you, if any praise you're going to get from here on out is well deserved. Just so you know, you're a great human being, and I'm proud to call you a friend. And I'm also extremely thankful that you decided to come on the show and share this wonderful story with us.
I've shared some parts of my story as far as being a closet atheist or anything, but I've never told the full thing in its entirety like this. So I appreciate you giving me that opportunity to do so.
Yeah,
Um,
my pleasure.
yeah, I love it. I love the work that you do. I've watched a few of these deconversion stories too, and that's always been my interest, like knowing how other people have come out of their journey and how we
Yep.
can see that connection. And I never went through the angry phase. I never went through this. Like, okay, that's cool, but how was that for you? And I like that. So I
Yep.
love what you do. I love this is great. Thank you.
I personally love hearing the different psychological thoughts on how people decide to become an atheist, like what the things that they go through, personal and impersonal, that they go through to end up on that side of the fence, right? So, and of course, these stories are extremely important to be out there because there's people like you before you met everyone that are out there that don't realize we're here. And then they stumble on and they go, holy shit, look at all these people. They're just like me. And I think it's important that we have these stories out there. So thank you again for joining me today.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're up for the after party, right? For a little while?
I am.
All right. Gonna refill the wine, do you?
Refill my vodka. No, it's kidding. It's water.
It's what I'm saying. That's a hell of a lot of vodka.
I know. I can only imagine.
Jenna's gonna get hammered, folks.
I don't always on my show with Justin. He does, but I did this past show and I had like a half a glass of wine. And I was tipsy.
You're getting all giddy.
But it was fun.
Oh, it's a lot of fun, and it's a little bit doesn't matter. It doesn't hurt. There. But right before we end the show, I'm going to bring in my wonderful producer, Mr. Mikey Famine, who is with us here. I'm doing this to you every time now, Mikey, just so you can be a part of the closing.
Glad my finger wasn't in my nose like it was a few seconds ago. Hello, everyone out there in internet world.
Thanks, Neil. You dick.
I'm screaming at the cat, just like, God damn it, my legs are bleeding. What's wrong with you?
Cat, my leg is not a scratch post.
He doesn't know that.
He's going to find out. He's going to look at his fingers, his nails, and go, "What's all this red shit?"
I'm gonna go up in my tower and clean myself again.
Again, yeah. It's Catter Day, buddy. You got to let him get away with it today.
In the park, the 4th of July.
Catter Day. Yeah. I got you.
Gosh.
We're old, Neil. We just sang Chicago, and everyone looked at us like, yeah.
Don't make me grab my cane.
I'm older than Neil.
Don't break that out.
No, I literally do have one. Every time someone starts making old jokes, I pull it out. I'm like, is that right? Good. No, I have this because I have sciatica that flares up once in a while. So,
okay.
It's a pain in the back.
I use it on a daily basis.
It was dumb. All right. Well, anyways, folks, we are going to be doing. Yeah, my phone's been going ape shit tonight. We're going to be doing an after party. If you would like to come in and say hello to Jenna, and whatnot, you can let me know via Twitter or Facebook if you're not on Twitter, and we'll get going on that in about 10 minutes or so, give or take. I know it's usually longer because I always like to wait till we have a small group of folks before we get rolling. So if you're into it, let me know. I see X has joined us. X from Mute Outcasts.
X gonna give it to you. Go give it to you.
But Mikey, once again, thank you. You're an awesome producer, and you do a great job for me. And I just got paid again, so it's payday for Mikey too. So, and I think we're going to throw a little extra as a Christmas bonus this year.
Hey, you the man, Homer.
Don't. Oh, Marge. Oh, sorry. Matthew's going to join us, probably on his phone again. And apparently Mikey and Matthew are going to have guitar wars or something. I don't know. You'll see what's happening.
You want to shred with me, brother? I can't shred. I'll call Shartan in.
Call Shartan. But again, Jenna, thank you for being my absolutely amazing and wonderful guest of honor tonight.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
My pleasure. And we will do the after party. And of course, you and I will be doing lots more with the nonprofits in the future for sure, which is a lot of fun. Until next time, guys, a couple things I want to mention before we go. Don't forget that both Jenna and myself are hosts of the nonprofits on the ACA show list there. And we also would appreciate it if you become a patron for the nonprofits. And of course, for me, if you like what I do. And don't forget that Randolph and I in the new year are starting up the call-in show called True North Talk, where we will be talking to people kind of like, the Atheist Experience, Truth Wanted and Talk Heathen and all that, except we're not going to limit it to just if you believe in fucking Nibiru or Bigfoot or whatever, you can call in and talk, and we'll talk. Even if you have political views you want to share, we'll talk. So you can call in and do that. And don't forget about all the links for Jena that I have below here. You can see her Facebook and her blog on Facebook, and also the nonprofits links are below because her and I both do that. So you can go check those out as well. You can go sub to both the nonprofits and True North Talk as well, guys. And I want to thank all my amazing patrons. It's because of you guys that the show gets a little bit better every time. And all my awesome moderators who I never seem to thank, and I really, really should, because you guys are awesome and you do your job well, all 756,000 of you that I somehow have given a wrench to everyone, like Oprah. You get a wrench, you get a wrench. But anyways, on Tuesday, December 22nd, I will be on the Empathetic Atheist show instead of doing my show that night, guys. So just so you know that. And that's it pretty much for the announcements. As you guys already know, my schedule has changed to Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays instead of Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, so that I'm available for that nonprofits show. And like I always say at the end of these shows, with the whole COVID-19 thing going on right now, remember, guys, to be well and be safe, and above all, be kind and wear that mask, wash your hands, do all that.
Mask.
Yeah. I
am a nurse. Listen to me.
Yes,
it's real. Wear a mask.
You got to put that shit on and be safe, okay? And I know I look like Shredder from the fucking Turtles. Okay. That's what Katie Montgomery said. You look like Shredder. So and like I'll leave you with my usual quote for the interviews. Like the late great Christopher Hitchens once said, "It's called faith because it's not knowledge." And we'll see you guys next time.